Good morning, brave adventurers. Welcome back to the channel. I am Amalgam Ash. Today, I'm kind of piggybacking off of the last video that I recorded, but this is another devlog/tutorial for Project D. And in the last video, I showed you the beginnings of a quest system and quest sortation HUD system. And just to recap, I've got a variety of ladies up here who will give you various quests. This first one will offer you the MSQ, for example. And then the HUD will take the quest and display it off to the upper left corner of the screen. If I talk to this NPC again after having accepted her quest, she has flavor text that visually cue the player that game knows that the player has accepted quest. And we are ready to go try to carry out the objectives and complete them. By talking to the NPC directly across from her, we can do just that. He will add one to the MSQ variable. In other words, you talk to me to progress the MSQ. Now, instead of having a boring NPC say that, you can take this NPC and have it say whatever you want. You can say, oh, Ella wanted you to talk to me? Please, I'm too shy. Tell Ella that I've loved her since the moment I saw her. And then if you go back to this NPC, she knows that you've talked to this NPC because he increased the MSQ variable by 1. And instead of having that be the text, you could have her say, oh, wow, Samuel likes me? I'm overjoyed. I'll go rush to him right away, and we'll be married and have a dozen kids, and I'll name my firstborn child after you. What's that? Your name is Stupid Butt McGee? That's fine. I guess I can still name my kid that. But that's the crux of it. So this NPC now has flavor text, knowing that you have completed the quest, and they get to enjoy whatever benefits that is. So this little system here, this instance of the system, works perfectly fine. I'll show you how I have set that up. So we're again on my boring test bed. This is where all of the systems that I build will be tested in order. They'll all be working together. I'll have ways to shut each one of them off so I can do my debugging effectively. This looks a bit bleak, but if you want to get into a more ambitious project, I strongly advise you to develop a similar system to this test bed, where all of the important NPCs in your game will all be lined out one after another, and while you are testing your game, all you have to do is go from one to the other, and they're very, very close together. You just talk to them, and to do different systems and turn different things on, you just travel a short distance and either talk to an NPC or push one of the buttons that you've set up on your keyboard or your UI to trigger switches and events. That way, you can test all of this stuff while it's together in a very short amount of time. And when you're ready to deploy these events and NPCs to your full game, you can simply copy them, not cut them. You can leave them in the test bed, but you can copy them and paste them onto your finished maps, and then have your quest system out there in the world ready to be experienced by the player that way. One of the pros of doing it this way, one of the benefits, is that when you go to test your game, you're not running all over your maps actually doing the quest. Now that's fine if you're trying to now design the tone of the quest and make sure that there's enough challenge or whatever from point A to point B, or there are travel elements. But for pure event-based things, you can use a test bed like this and get a lot of work done in a short amount of time. All right, so we have each one of these colored rectangles, which represents a group of events that are interrelated. These are my character customization and origin of the game events. This red rectangle and the events therein represent the item and keyword sortation system, what keywords you have, what items you have, and how they appear on the screen to let you know what you have active. And this blue rectangle represents my quest system. The quest system is pretty easy once you delve into it, and you can do this any number of ways. This is just one way to do it, but I will show you how I like to do it, how I think I would prefer doing it. We have 4 sheets to an NPC, a quest-giving NPC, and for every NPC that will help you resolve a quest, this doesn't need to be an NPC, this can be an actual like rock or a monster, or it can be anything. I just have them as NPCs on the map to get through things quickly, so I can just talk to them and move on. But in game, they can represent any manner of different things, a well that you need to check, a note that you need to deliver, whatever the case may be. They have 2 event sheets. The first event sheet is complete objective. And this is the script that will run when there are no sheet conditions to help you complete whatever objective it is that you need to complete for the NPC that has offered you the quest. And the second event sheet, which I will name Objective Complete, with the objective, that actually, those are the same words. I'm gonna name this one to post objective complete. So in RPG Developer Bakin, the engine in which this project is being developed, the sheets are what the engine looks at per event to see what it needs to do. You can put several sheets on an event because you may wish for that event to behave differently depending on what conditions are present. In this case, the event will behave one way if you haven't completed the objectives yet, and it will behave another way if you have completed the objectives. So we're going to take a look at the event that actually gives you the quest. This lady, she has 4 sheets, and 4 sheets is how I would like to do things. She has a default behavior. She has a quest accepted. This is what she says and does, how she behaves when you've accepted her quest already. She has a check if complete, which is how she behaves and what she says and does if you have completed her quest. And she has post-quest behavior, which is now her life after you have completed the quest. Each one of these sheets has a condition that the engine checks for, and if that condition is true, this is the sheet that will fire. If the condition is not true, it will move on and check the next sheet. And Bakin checks the sheets from last to first. So, in other words, when it very first starts the game, Bakin is going to check this event's last sheet by default every time, thousands of times a second, as long as she's present on the map. And the next thing it's going to do is look at the sheet conditions. And if the sheet conditions are true, it's going to go right into the third area, the actual command script area. What happens here entirely relies on this condition to be true. If this condition's not true, none of this will happen. And if this condition is true, this stuff will only manifest the way that you choose for it to. So this can happen automatically, or it can happen when you make contact or talk to this entity. So in this case, it's when player talks. So not only do we need to have the quest completed switch on, which is the sheet condition for this sheet, and by the way, you can have many sheet conditions and you can have multiples of them on a sheet, you also need to approach this event and interact with it. So when player talks. Anyways, this is the very first sheet that will be checked, and quest completed is not on by default. In fact, it gets turned on in this event in another page. So it's going to skip right over this and go to the next one. It's going to check to see if MSQ is equal to 1. It's not by default, so it'll skip that and go to the next one. It'll now check to see if quest accepted is on by default, which it's not. So it's going to skip that and go to the next one, which is the last one. It's default behavior, and there are no sheet conditions for this one. So as long as the script hasn't been interrupted to go ahead and run the sheet at this point, it will run this sheet by default. So this first sheet is where our NPC offers the hero the quest to begin with. And you can say yes or no, because I think every good RPG gives you the option instead of just throwing it at you and providing the player with some freedom. And if you say no, it simply ends the event and you're able to talk to her again and say yes, maybe. So there are a lot of things that happen when you say yes. First, the conversation happens. The NPC recognizes that you've accepted the quest. The system now acknowledges that you have accepted the quest and lets you know that that's definitely happened. Next, the string variable active main quest name gets populated. The active main quest description gets populated, and those are variables that are going to be transferred to the heads-up display, so they'll appear on your screen to remind you at all times what it is that you need to be doing. The heads-up display right now is kind of an up-in-the-air decision. I'm not sure if I want the quest names to appear on the screen at all times, or if I would rather they be in like a quest book or something, but having them appear on the screen right now is perfect because it lets me know at a glance what has actually triggered, what's been activated, what's working correctly, what's broken. The last thing that happens in this script is that the quest accepted switch will now turn on. And this is a switch that is local to this NPC, by the way. It doesn't affect any other NPC, nor can any other NPC check for this NPC's quest accepted local variable, local switch turned on. So the next time you talk to this NPC, this default behavior will never get reached again. The quest accepted sheet will halt the checking of the script and it will run this sheet of events. So she will simply have flavor text over here while you have the quest accepted. Here in the MSQ equals 1, which happens after you talk to Samuel, or the NPC that's right across from her, will fire as soon as that happens, and you'll get flavor text and you will get a switch turned on for quest completed. Something else that needs to happen here, I realize, is we need to say that quest has been completed. Quest damsel in distress complete. That's where our fanfare would play and all of that crap. I don't know if I want to do this for the final version of the game or even the demo, but it's here. It's not going to hurt anything being here in my test bed. Finally, there's post-quest behavior, and the only thing here is this is the behavior that fires now whenever you talk to this NPC. She just says thanks again for completing that quest for me. So again, I know I'm piggybacking off of the last video because I talked about a lot of the stuff in the last video. I've just extended it out a bit. The fetch quest mechanics are different because they are now checking for an item. This guy just gave us an item, and if we check, we can see we have the King's Permit, which is the item I chose for him to give, and we can talk to her again, and then she has flavor text, and then an acknowledgement that you have an item, and then an option for you to give her the item. I think it's always important to have the option to give because you might want to say no. You might want to say no if the player, for example, can always reobtain the item, but can also sell it or trade it to another NPC for something else, and maybe they'd like to prioritize how they'd like to do the quest. So the choice kind of reminds them what's at stake, and it allows them to back out and return to that another time. But we can give the fetch quest item, and of course she offers us a kiss, because why not? And next we have a third event that I've set up. Will you accept my bounty quest? Now you'll notice that the fetch quest text did not disappear from the screen, and that's because I still need to finish the quest sortation system, the HUD part. Adding quests to the screen is very, very easy. Taking them off the screen is also very, very easy, but adding them to the screen in the number, or rather in the order in which they were accepted, was a bit of work, and now getting them to disappear and resorting the list is going to be a bit of work. I need to work through how to do that exactly. But anyways, you can say yes to her bounty quest, and then this guy will give you a bounty quest item. If we look at our items, we see he has given us a Horn of Beast. That's how I'd like to handle bounties in this game. The monsters will drop the item that you need to turn in, and then you can show that item as proof that you've slain the monster to the quest giver. She's not reacting right now because she wants 3. So I'll talk to him until he's given me 3, and then he recognizes he's given me 3 and he tells me to screw off now. We go back to her and she recognizes that we have 3, takes them, and then that quest is complete. So yeah, the other 2 quests I think I'm going to have these quests checked to see if you've got a particular item or keyword, because these guys do check for items and keywords and that system works fine. But as an extension of that, for the quest system, I do need to check for items and keywords, because items and keywords are going to be things that get checked for in the quests in the game. So anyway, I think that's going to be it for this devlog. I'm going to go ahead and show you another map. Last time I showed you the temple corridor and showed you that you can rotate the camera a certain number of degrees up and down, which I actually still need to restrict, but there is also a dormitory, and this is where you'll basically start your adventure. There are still a couple of things that need to happen with this dorm, notably particular additions to the bathroom. I'm not worried about those right now, but I did want to show this off, and I actually wouldn't mind if I were zoomed in just a little bit more. One of the things that I really want to figure out how to do is get rid of the white outline for the character, or otherwise make it to where they cannot pass so far into things that you see them totally outlined in white. That's not actually something that I prefer in this engine, but everything else here I think looks fantastic. This is where you'll wake up. We will have a system where you can look in the mirror and change your NPC's appearance. Complete customization system is in the works conceptually, and we'll be rolling that out possibly with the demo or possibly during future crowdfunded or Patreon backed builds of game. But the creation system will be in the final version of the game. It is something I feel very strongly about. I want anybody to be able to rescue the world of Pravia. And that is it for now. So thank you very much for sitting down and listening to me rant for 20 minutes. I actually recorded this devlog once before, but I made a very grave error while I was doing stuff with my events, and I had to fix that, and then I realized I was still recording, so I scrapped all of that footage. Anyway, I'll see you next time. Thanks again for watching. Please have a fantastic rest of your day, and bye for now.